how we think about structuring a foundation for omnichannel, where should you sell, et cetera. So we talked a little bit about in the previous section, how do omnichannel shoppers think when they're shopping? We are all omnichannel shoppers. What do you think when you get on a channel and you're looking for a product? Is this the product that I want? Next, is it available near me? Meaning, when will it be delivered to me if it's being shipped to me, and how much will it cost? That's the fourth one. Those are very simple questions, right? Because that's what we all think every time we log into Amazon, or every time I'm, going to go buy something on Instagram checkout, or I'm looking for a product on Google. Is this the product I want? Is it the right size? Is it made of the right material? Is it the right color? When will it be delivered to me? 2 weeks shipping from China, or can I get it same day delivery with Amazon? These are the kinds of things that omnichannel shoppers are thinking about, which means that merchants have to surface all that information on any of the channels someone is shopping on. That's very challenging if you have to do it on your own. And so that's where partnerships between platforms like BigCommerce and platforms like Google and platforms like Meta on the, and the Facebook family of apps, Facebook and Instagram, it's partnerships with TikTok and Amazon and Walmart, and all of these are coming together because we recognize there's a bunch of data that has to change hands in order to make that possible. And so that's where these partnerships are coming together to say, listen, we know that in order for a merchant to deliver a successful shopper experience on this channel, we need the following things: quality catalog. Number two, if it's an ads channel, we need a merchant to be able to easily place their pixel directly on their direct-to-consumer site so that there's some nice data exchange around retargeting, right? So if somebody's buying ads, they can say, oh, somebody's looked at this product, let's surface them this ad in this retargeted ad. So that's like the pixel and signal piece. And in a world where privacy is becoming more and more important, this becomes a very, very considered issue, which is why we've worked with partners like Facebook to release things like the conversions API that ensures that there's kind of a server-to-server integration there that can pass that data, obviously, as long as everybody has kind of agreed to that. The next is things like ads. So what partners do you need in order to make sure you have a really good ad strategy? Maybe you have an amazing ad management team in-house. Maybe you want to work with an agency. Maybe you want to use a technology tool and you want to use the best of breed solutions that Google is offering with the new Performance Max APIs that's going to launch this year, that's built natively within the BigCommerce platform. These are the kinds of things you need to decide. What is your creative strategy? Who is building those and designing those amazing Instagram Reel or TikTok videos that are going to be product tagged so that they can drive traffic back to your consumer site where your lifetime value is the highest? What's your strategy for repricing on marketplaces where earning that buy box and making sure that you are very competitive on pricing matters? How are you handling payments, tax, fraud, inventory, order management, shipping, fulfillment? All of these things are things that have to be considered when selling across channels. And it sounds complicated, but there's a lot of very dedicated people working to try and make this as easy as possible, so that all the merchants need to focus on is authing their accounts, sending the right merchandising and sending the right catalog to the channel that can drive conversion, and then building that community, leveraging best practices for each channel. Next slide. So that's really what we work with people to focus on, which is what are the 4 pillars of omnichannel success? And how do we think about this? And the first one we think about is, number 1, where should I sell next? Meaning, if you're running a direct-to-consumer site, or maybe you guys, so this is kind of where you diagnose your omnichannel personality. Are you a digitally native vertical brand, or are you a marketplace only seller who is looking to go across channels? Maybe you sell on Amazon and you're looking to go across. Are you a heritage brand who you're a manufacturer and you already have stockists of your products and you're looking to lean into a digital experience that gives them more product information or replacement parts? These are all different kind of omnichannel personalities that require different technology solution stacks to affect the goals that you have. Because someone who only has digital presence and fulfills via dropshipper needs to have a completely different solution stack than somebody who is hugely marketplace heavy with 25,000 SKUs, where they're churning and it's really based on volume at a certain price point and winning the buy box, right? These are like totally different omnichannel strategies that need to be contemplated, because not all kind of commerce and brands and manufacturers and retailers are created equal. So number 1, we say, where should you be selling next? Number 2, what should your marketing strategy be on that channel? Number 3, what are the operational tools that you need to have in place in order to make sure you can surface the inventory you have and wherever it lives to the channel where the conversion is happening, And then how do you make sure that you can sync that resulting order and the shipping information and the updated inventory back to that channel? And then how are you fulfilling? Are you okay with certain delivery timelines where it might be 3 to 5 days, 2 weeks, 2 days, 1 day? Are you already fulfilling products with Amazon and can take advantage of using their infrastructure globally to expand into another market? These are things to consider. Next slide. And so when evaluating these strategies, merchants have varying degrees of omnichannel maturity, right? And maturity doesn't equal complexity. It's you might be a single channel seller selling only on D2C and then expand to ads channels to drive more traffic back to your D2C. When you go multi-channel, you might either spin up another regional site, or you might say, oh, this ad strategy on Google is working really well. I'd like to expand to the Facebook, Facebook and TikTok and Microsoft because I've got a strategy around advertising and social that works really well. You then might decide, oh, let's launch another storefront in another language. These are all additional channels that you need to contemplate and consider, and it's non-linear. It goes up very quickly because if all of a sudden you are advertising on Google, Facebook, Microsoft, TikTok, and then you launch 3 new storefronts in 3 different new languages, you now all of a sudden have a global omnichannel channel management issue kind of on your doorstep that you need to be contemplating a strategy for. And you need different technology and agency partners at different sizes of your growth here. And so the way we're contemplating this is replatforming is like the worst thing ever, right? We all try and make it as easy as possible. But the nice thing is, if you can have a flexible solution that allows you to swap out the right partners that allow you to grow in the strategy, that's obviously the goal. Next slide. So we know that merchants have different levels of omnichannel maturity, but maturity doesn't equal complexity. You can have a small merchant who just got started take their products and easily syndicate it to a bunch of ads channels, let's say social, Google, you list your products on Google, and then Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, Pinterest. You can do all of that in one fell swoop, but that's a pretty complicated business set. That's like 5 channels, not just one. And so you can have small businesses who sell across a lot of channels and fulfill across a lot of different methods without necessarily being large. And so small and large merchants have different use cases around, we know that if you have low channel GMV, you probably need a self-serve option because you don't have an army of people who are helping you do this. If you have high channel GMV, you might already have a team of people who help support you in certain ways, which means you require scalability and support. Maybe you have a really large SKU set, or maybe you have a really distributed footprint with lots of POS locations. These are the kinds of things we need to think through. And so when we are contemplating how do we think through this complexity issue, these are all issues that we need to be able to provide partners to support. So on the next slide, what you kind of see is how we think about that. Generally, people adopt channels kind of in this order based on the value that can be kind of guaranteed to be unlocked on each one. Generally, we don't see people launch on Snapchat before they launch on Google, as an example. And so typically, we prioritize providing the partners that they need based on their stage of growth, right? And make that as easy as possible for people to adopt those solutions. Next slide. And so what we see here is kind of the ideal model, right? Which is if you're running your own D2C site and you want to expand to a channel, or let's say you start on Amazon and you want to go global on Amazon and then to eBay and Walmart, whichever direction you kind of come from it, whether you're a D2C, a manufacturer, or a marketplace seller, you have an opportunity to expand across channels, and you want to do that with the infrastructure that you already have in order to get the most leverage. And so that's kind of how we see this, which is the ability to sell across multiple channels using you can use BigCommerce as the hub, or more enterprise merchants, and I'll show you that screen in a second, can use kind of an open partner best of breed model that allows you to then sell anywhere and fulfill wherever you are. So on the next slide, what you can see is, so when we talk about maturity, that last slide was really about how do we help small merchants grow fast? And this one is, this is very much about how do enterprise solution stacks look when they're already growing. So on that maturity curve, you need to be able to go from the last one to the next one. And so we need to be able to provide the flexibility that makes that possible. And you need to contemplate those use cases. Maybe you already work with an inventory and order management system. Maybe you have an ERP that you need to integrate into the mix. And this allows for kind of that flexibility. And so this is an example of how you can use BigCommerce as your storefront capability, use Feedonomics to take the data out of BigCommerce to syndicate it to all these channels, and then support a more holistic, let's call it enterprise level solution stack. Next slide. So we think about maturity. So we've established ourselves in this kind of concept of omnichannel maturity. We have found that merchants are constantly wanting to understand how to adopt new channels and what they can do in order, and how to do that as easy as possible. And so BigCommerce Channel Manager is an area where we have surfaced new channels that merchants can adopt. Next slide. And so in this experience, essentially you are able to identify, based on your needs, which partners are the best mix for you. So this is an example of a partner solution matrix based on maturity. So single channel merchants might use our native integrations for ads that we have with Google and Facebook and TikTok and others. And they might use a partner like Codisto in order to list across Amazon, eBay, and Walmart for free up to 250 orders. And as they get bigger, they might say, you know what, I really need it as an advertising agency in order to help manage some of these campaigns for me. And as they get larger, or they need to manage multiple channels, you know, in kind of those different solution stacks you saw, they might need a partner like Feedonomics who has a fully managed service suite to support that. And so that's kind of how to think about this in terms of maturity. It doesn't have to be necessarily these partners, but that's kind of this construct by which we kind of outline how can you develop a strategy that identifies, 1, what channels you should be on, 2, how you market on them, 3, how you manage the operations and inventory and order management and fulfillment partners you need in order to be able to support that.
Okay, now we have a question that came in. It was posted on the chat box, but also I sent it to you, Sharon. Can you talk about, and I think we kind of touched on it, but can we talk a little bit more about the interface between financial and management accounting systems and omnichannel systems? My hypothesis is that there are a lot of really good insights to be had, perhaps even the identification of some important unknown unknowns.
Yes, I love this question because you can't have an omnichannel strategy without an omnichannel data strategy, right? Which is, so that channel manager, which you just saw in that previous area, what we've done is we built technology that allows our all of the orders to be coming into the channel with an order source, so that in your reporting, you know, we have like a free native integration into Google BigQuery as an example that allows you to take all that data and put it into a system, a data warehouse, where you can marry it with other data sources and then put it into your own data visualization tools, whether it's something like Google Data Studio, which is a free tool, or if you're using a solution like Looker or Power BI. You have to have a way to be able to pull all of this cross-channel data and harmonize it into a way where you can like make sense of it to create insights that allow you to drive your business forward. I'll give you an example. If you've got a SKU that does 80% of your revenue on your D2C, but it's not doing very well on your other channels, you might want to figure out why, right? And or if you've got like, I call it the little black dress. If you've got a product that you know you want to merchandise on marketplaces because you never run out of stock, it's always in stock at Amazon FBA, and you do it like gangbusters, and it's fairly inexpensive to ship. It's small, meaning like fits in a box. These are examples of things that like affect your merchandising strategy, where you're evaluating what is the SKU velocity across channels. Also, you might find that if you advertise a certain product, that might be the flashy ad product, but it's not the one that does very well in conversion. But if it's driving back to a direct-to-consumer experience where you can capture that interest and then cross-sell them into things that they know that they like, and then put them into your like nurture, lead, loyalty funnel that drives your long-time value, of course you should be leveraging that. And so when we talk about what the interface between financial and management accounting systems is, what we see is that merchants need to have a unified omnichannel data strategy, and that means getting the data out of the systems it's in, putting it into a harmonized data warehouse that allows you to kind of, or a CDP in many cases, depending on what kind of technology tools you're using, in order to be able to glean insights of your cross-channel data in order to be able to take action. And so I gave you some examples of how BigCommerce does that, other platforms do other things, but the example is really relevant.